do you just want to do an introduction on yourself, where you come from, so the rest of the members know?
Sure. Do you want me to keep video on, or should I just turn it off?
Video on is fine.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kate Peterson Mace. I'm at ESnet, Energy Sciences Network, based at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. I've been there now about 3 years. Prior to that, I was in South Carolina at Clemson University. But as far as WINS goes, I've actually been part of SciNet and the SC committee since 2008. In fact, Caroline and I started the same year. And then WINS started in 2015, but I joined ESnet in 2016, so I started working on the program at that time, although I was somewhat involved before.
Thanks, Kate.
Sure.
You guys can just come over.
Hello everyone, I'm Tania Jareen. I'm a network engineer at Purdue University, and I was a WINS participant in SC17. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, wow, this is loud. Well, you can hear me. My name is Gladys Andino. I am from Purdue University. I actually work with the research computing team. I am one of the senior computational scientists, if we want to put it that way. I have a very non-traditional background, actually. My background is in agriculture, molecular biology, bioinformatics, and somehow I ended doing high-performance computing for the last 3 years. So,
thank you all for participating. I really appreciate it. Kate has, since she's been actively involved in the WINS program at Supercomputing, I asked if she would do kind of the overview of when the program started, how it's kind of progressed, and then I only have a handful of questions that the panelists will answer, and then hopefully this will be more of a conversation for all of us. I thought it was a nice segue from Maureen's talk to kind of highlight what's happening at Supercomputing with the WINS program, and then with Gladys, your experience as far as the HPC environment. It's not completely different from networking, but you have similar challenges, and I think that would be interesting to folks here as well. Okay. So Kate, you want to take it away?
Sure. Yeah, so the WINS program started in 2015. That was actually the official pilot year, meaning that it was actually added to CC Star Award at UCAR, the University Center of Atmospheric Research, based in Boulder, Colorado. So the first year took place in 2015. So the program was designed at a high level to try and help close the gender gap in IT, particularly in networking and high-performance computing at the Supercomputing Conference. And so many of the people, so the grant, it is actually funded by NSF and then also by ESnet and Department of Energy, meaning that it funds me to help run the program. But then also if there are any, it's also open to DOE, DOE people, people at labs and things like that. So if any of those actually make the application, then they're funded by ESnet, not the NSF grant. So starting in 2015 in Austin, created to also help kind of open up and kind of create a talent pipeline for SciNet as well, while exposing the opportunity, because being part of SciNet and SC on the committee is actually really an excellent professional development opportunity. So it's opening it up to, it's focused on early to mid-career women, and that has actually nothing to do with age, whether people change careers midway or whatever the case may be. And so it was kind of to help kind of get them in the door and provide some seed funding, especially if they're from smaller institutions. They may not have the funding or initially realize the benefits of sending one of their people to SciNet or for SC for such a period of time without initial funding. So then in 2016 was the first official year when we got the NSF award. It runs actually through the end of this year, 2018. We're actually working on a 1-year supplement to try and get it to run through 2019 as well. And then we're in the process of working with SC and other entities to try and figure out the sustainable long-term plan for the program. So far, we actually just awarded 5 new participants for the 2018 SE18, which will take place in Dallas. So with those 5 individuals, it will have funded 24 women total to be part of the SciNet team. So it is a competitive application process. We do have members from the community that have been on the selection committee, some from SC and SciNet, some from just in the research and education community. So it is actually pretty competitive, and we've had some excellent participants, one of which you're actually looking at right there, Tania, up on the stage, or up in front. So, but essentially we give them kind of a brief overview of SciNet and the various teams that make up SciNet. They're given the opportunity to rank their preference on which teams maybe they're most interested in learning about and working on that might fit their skill sets, et cetera. So then the selection committee pairs them up with the team, and then we work on integrating them. So we're actually, for this year, next week, we're having the SE18 kickoff call with the new participants, so that they've been introduced to their team leads already and their mentors. And so I'll be working with them throughout the rest of the year to get them integrated into their assigned teams, whether that's the routing team, DevOps, network security, fiber team, whatever the case may be. So we've had several participants return every year, especially because they build up their skill sets, but also their professional networks, so that they're able to bring that back to their institution to help them in their day job. And so several have returned. In fact, last year we had a high number return, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but quite a lot. And we've actually had a few rise in the ranks and become co-leads of certain teams. So it's been a very successful program, both for, I believe, the participants, but Tania can speak more to that, but also for the mentors as well. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from the team leads and mentors on the benefits that they've had of, like I said, opening it up to a wider pool of people who have very high standards and very professional, and learning how to do this in it may be a different way, or using different equipment that they haven't been able to do at their home institution, exposing them to new technologies. So it's also been supported at the SC committee level, meaning that the SC19 chair is very interested in helping, to help the program running. And so every year we've had more applicants and more interest, just because it's actually become a very, very well-received program all around. So.
Perfect. Thanks, Kate. It just dawned on me. How many people, show of hands, know what SC is when we use those 2 letters? Okay. Well, for those that don't know, Supercomputing is a organization that puts on a, Kate, you may have to help me on this one, that
Sure.
we put on a huge conference that happens at different locations every year. And we referenced SciNet a couple times, and SciNet is really the back end of supercomputing. So all of the folks that participate in supercomputing, well, like IU and Purdue both will have booths there. They will demonstrate all of the cool tech things that they've done throughout the year. But the network that goes from booth to booth is put together by folks like Tania, or Tom Johnson participated as well. And what happens is, over the course of a month's time, folks go, they build the network, they make sure it's set up for all of the booth participants, and there's heavy industry there as well. So Dell will have a booth. What was it? Dell. Right, all of the HPCs. And then what happens is that behind the scenes, folks like Tania and myself and Tom all were able to work on gear that our home institution didn't have exposure to. So at the time, we didn't have Brocades. We didn't have the top level Cisco. Since we were more of a Juniper shop, we were introduced to technologies that otherwise we would never have been able to actually drive. So that's the part of the huge professional development that Kate was mentioning. So I just wanted to make sure folks kind of had an understanding of what SC was. So does that help?
Yeah. Yeah,
Great.
basically it's an international conference, and the attendance is usually somewhere between 10 and 11,000, just like Caroline said. And so there's a large technical program component that's very competitive, and then there's an exhibit floor, which is where kind of SciNet lives. Aside from, we also provide all the network connectivity for the entire technical program and committee offices as well. But it's, yeah, if that helps.
Okay, thanks. So I just wanted to go over with the panel and see if folks could describe what part of the team you play in your current career or in your current job, and what are contributions that you would view as significant.
Okay, you want me to start? Sure. Okay, so as I mentioned, I am the computational scientist with research computing. Research computing is actually under the umbrella of information technology at Purdue. And so, but our team specifically is working with high-performance computing resources that we provide. We provide the resources, but we provide the expertise. And so in my case, I do everything that is related to bioinformatics applications and tools. So I am basically sort of like the liaison between research computing and the College of Agriculture. And so I relate with a lot of the faculties that are doing next generation sequencing, which is related to DNA and RNA sequencing. And so to be able to do that, to put those genomes together or to look at differential gene expressions, we had to use high performance computing to be able to do that. And so I am the person in my group that has the expertise that understands the data and also understands the resources, because in the past I was a user too. And so now I get to work in the back end and sort of understand more or less how the applications work, how we can troubleshoot the issues. One of the things that I enjoy the most is actually working with the students in the one-to-one interaction. So our group actually has something called coffee consultation hours, where we meet with the students or faculty that need expertise with bioinformatics application, or just with the basic of Unix, or how to get in access to the to the clusters, or to a specific supercomputer on campus. Besides that, I do a lot of teaching too. This semester I developed a class that is called High Performance Computing for Life Sciences. So knowing that there is a need in the College of Agriculture, we decided to collaborate with 2 other faculty members at Purdue, and just to put a class that we can actually teach the students in the College of Ag how to use the bioinformatics applications to look at the data. Also, I work in, I do a lot of workshops related to, like I mentioned, Unix and access to the high-performance computing that we have on campus. And in 2016, I also co-founded the Women in High-Performance Computing at Purdue. And so that's a part of the initiative to draw more women to the HPC field, and also to promote a little bit of awareness that there are different fields in high-performance computing that women can also be involved.
That's extremely impressive. On those workshops, is it exclusive for only higher ed, or do you branch out? What's the scope?
Anyone actually attends. So we have not just the students, but we have faculty coming to our group, to our workshops. We have staff and people, from the IT, Ag-IT, at Purdue also are coming, because we all understand the need of understand how our clusters actually work, right? How they can get access, and as a user, how you can actually efficiently utilize the resources.
Great. Tania, you want to talk about what you do? We're fortunate enough we get to work with Tania on a regular basis because of the Indiana GigaPOP and the relationship that IU and Purdue have.
So I'm a network engineer at Purdue University. I'm directly associated with the advanced and growing education and research sector in the United States. So my main responsibility in Purdue is to maintain Purdue's wide area network. So I collaborate with research and education vendors like GigaPOP, Internet2, ITaP, other research universities and national labs to maintain Purdue's 20 gig commodity and 100 gig research network. I also work in Purdue Data Center, regional connectivity. We have 3 regional campuses. So their regional connectivity to Purdue, and then exit connection, Persona, and LAC1 CERN connectivity to Purdue. I'm also a reviewer for NCWIT collegiate and high school scholarship, and this year also I'm a reviewer for the Anita Brock, that is the graduate level scholarship judgment. That's all. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Kate, you want to talk about what you do on your day job?
Sure. I'm part of the science engagement team at ESnet, which that means basically our group works a lot. We're more outward facing. We work a lot with the engineers, of course, and various parts within ESnet, but then we focus on the users. Those can be folks at DOE facilities, but also it's sometimes researchers and scientists that are funded, maybe the university, to use DOE resources, whether it's an HPC center or a beamline, whatever the case may be. So we work with them to kind of understand what their science workflow is, maybe who they're collaborating with, and then try and help them find ways to essentially move their data more efficiently and faster. ESnet provides the backbone that connects all the DOE facilities, even though about 80% of the traffic originates or terminates outside of the DOE complex at universities, whatever the case is. So a lot of times we're working with regional networks, maybe local IT staff, and then with our engineering group as well to basically help them transfer large data sets faster. I'm also helping with ESnet's in the process of planning the next version of our backbone. So we're in the process in 2020, we're going to start actually replacing all the network equipment that goes throughout the US to build the new backbone. So I'm fortunate I get to work with a lot of our users, but also with almost every part of the organization, all the different teams.
Great, thanks. I also want to let everyone know that Kalina Dunn, some of you may have met her yesterday. She is one of the recipients this year. So we'll have one of our team members going to participate at SciNet this year. So I really, I'd like for us to highlight how each of us got started in tech. So I'm going to start out by letting everyone know I don't have a degree in computer science. Mine's in English. I actually thought about being a copy editor, and then I realized what that meant, and I thought for sure I would probably end up hanging myself. So I was fortunate enough to fall in love with IU and the NOC, believe it or not. I started out taking all of your calls when you had trouble with your network. And then from there, I studied really hard, and I worked with Grover Browning and others, and they were huge mentors, and they helped push me into the field of network engineering. So if each of you want to talk about how you ended up where you are and how that came about.
Well, so you see me laughing because my background is, I'm coming from a very non-traditional background, right? So as I mentioned before, my background is actually engineering and agriculture. And I did a lot of work with insects. So by the way, if you want to know anything about related to honeybees and things like that, you can talk to me. So the way I got started, halfway through my doctoral program, we had to change projects. And I was given the project of, okay, you can do some next generation sequencing, working with these parasites or ectoparasites of honeybees, and I decided, well, is this or I give up? And so I decided, well, why not? I'm just gonna try, that's the PhD for. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna start learning how to do some computing, and so I had to teach myself how to start doing some programming, and I had to take some classes too. And that's how I got started with, learning how to use bioinformatics tools to actually do the analysis of my data. Everything that implied at the point I really didn't know what I was getting into. But I ended actually finding out that I really love to do the computing part. And like I said, it's not my background. I am not a computer scientist by any means, but I had to learn how to do it, at least how to get through my data, which that's what I needed at the time. And so I knew that if I wanted to do bioinformatics, I needed to have access to high performance computing. And that's what I did through Purdue. And by that time that I was ready to finish my degree, the research computing team was looking for someone with my domain and expertise. And so as soon as I finished before graduation, they decided, okay, we want to hire you. And that's how I ended working with research computing. And bioinformatics and high performance computing are married. And you cannot do bioinformatics without high performance computing. So they go together, and I just really love what I do.
Thanks. How about you, Tanya?
So how did I start in tech? That's a great question. So from my childhood, I always liked to play engineering toys. My mom tells me that I like to break things up to see what is inside. That wasn't actually pleasant things for my parents. Then when I started going to school, I liked math and physics the most. And I had to go through a national admission test to get into engineering university, and I stood second in that, and I chose electrical engineering for my bachelor. After completing my bachelor degree, I started working in IT professional industry, but I wanted to learn more, explore more. So I traveled a long way here in US to pursue my higher study. I started working in a Cisco research lab, and then ISP company Cox Communication, and then ended up at Purdue. Here at Purdue, I like working with the networking stuff. So I have been fortunate to work with diverse team in the tech industry. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I think you had the most traditional, like if you were to ask the majority of our male counterparts, I think they would have had a similar path as yours.
Yeah.
Kate, you want to talk about yours?
Sure. I actually started, I have a non-traditional degree as well. My degree is actually in business. So I actually started out at the university doing accounting, but in the telecommunications department. That was before telecom and network was merged in most places. So started out doing that, and then kind of worked my way up. It was really just an evolution. Started out being the technical support person for the department, then became the system administrator of our database. And that grew, and then we basically got merged, and I had the opportunity to start working on wide area networking with Caroline, actually, and discovered that I really liked that and preferred that a lot over system administration personally. So it's really just been an evolution, kind of just on-the-job training, going to some other training courses as well, and then just working with people in the community and learning from them. And then it also gave me a big boost in exposure and learning when I was able to start working at the SciNet job and meeting people from all over the world and learning things from them, which eventually led to my connections and professional and personal connections with people actually at ESnet. And so then I was able to make that move, but that's how I first met a lot of people at ESnet and realized that that was somewhere that I wanted to work. So yeah, non-traditional start, just a big evolution and on-the-job training, but discovered that I really like it a lot better than accounting, personally.
So why does everyone on the panel think that women are less inclined to pursue a career in IT? For me, it was, it just wasn't anything that was ever introduced early on for us. And I think that's probably the reason I started out with an English degree. I mean, I thought that was something that I could do lots of things with. It didn't really pigeonhole me. But when I talk to my, folks that are much younger, I have an 11-year-old son who has lots of female friends, and I ask them, what do they want to be? No one says they want to do computer science. No one says they want to be a network engineer. Like, they all really want to be nurses and teachers still. So it's kind of interesting. We need to figure out how to kind of crack that open. So what do you guys think?
Well, that's a great question. I guess a part has to do, I want to be really careful here, but it might have to do also with a little bit of the culture and how, the way how, since we are little women, are being viewed, right? Like, okay, you know, you're gonna help the family, you're gonna take care of this, you're gonna take care of that. And so I think that that gets embedded in the way how we are also educated. So I think why women will, you know, historically try to choose more careers like nursing and teaching, I think that is associated with the fact of that you are choosing something that makes a difference, right? You know, as a woman, I would like to see also that what I do and that my job has value and actually is creating an impact. And I think that maybe that's the reason why it has been a tendency. But, you know, once I discovered computing and all the things that I can do with bioinformatics and that I can actually work with cancer data, that makes a whole difference, right? So it has to do basically with the point of view and the perspective, how you show, or the things that actually, you know, we can do with the career that we choose that can also still have an impact. And so I think that we had to start changing a little bit more the way how we present careers and make them appealing, you know, to women at all different ages. I think that that perhaps will make a difference.
I can give my example, the way I started in tech. I think the environment is very important, including your family, your friends, your teacher. But the most important thing is to have the self-confidence or self-belief. Even though I had the great support from my family, I had a strong belief in me. In my childhood, when I was going to any toy store, I liked the engineering toys, which are actually intended for boys. So we have to get out from this gender stereotype thinking, and I think it needs to be started from the very beginning, from the childhood. In the same time, we need more program which excites the young women in tech, program like WINS, which gives really hands-on experience to the young women and excites them. And then at the same time, I think we have to communicate with other women and we have to share our success story to them so that they can be in the tech industry. And women have to believe that they can be the best in tech.
I think that's our struggle, is that it's really hard for us to brag about ourselves. I mean, no offense, but for some reason it seems easier for guys to say, hey, I did this really cool thing. And for us, it almost feels kind of dirty, like maybe we shouldn't feel really proud about it, because unless we really helped someone in some way, it seems wrong. So I think it's a perception thing as well. I know it is for me. Kate, did you want to weigh in on that, or are you good?
No, actually, Tania said a lot of what I was thinking of saying, so I don't think I have anything. Just basically starting early and encouraging. You know I personally wasn't encouraged to pursue something in science or technology, but luckily things like that are changing. But then also, kind of like she said too, is educating, not just girls, but I think, the kind of everyone really on what you really can do about it with it. And it's not, if you're going to computer science, it doesn't mean that you're going to be sitting in a dark room on a computer by yourself forever. There's a lot more to it than that. So, yeah, I think the points made were good. I agree with all of them.
So, I'd like to get some feedback from the audience as far as, is this, the WINS program, is that anything that sounds appealing as far as for your home institution? Maybe it's something that if you have engineers that were interested, like Marianne reached out to Cleanup, made sure that she knew that we would be extremely supportive in that. So just like if there's any feedback, if you guys are interested in supercomputing, if you see that would be an excellent way for professional development for your staff members.
I could just say, we've sponsored a number of people to participate in SciNet over the years at the Global NOC. We, Tom Johnson, as Caroline mentioned, was participating for several years. Caroline participated on the routing team. She's now working, I'm not sure what your team is called now.
So it's the Network Research Exhibition.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, as I understand what she does on her current team is she works with the researchers to make sure their needs are met within the booth. So the network needs are delivered to the booth that they need to do their experiments and whatever they're showcasing. So, you know, there's a number of things, benefits that have come out of participation with SciNet. First of all, it is a major commitment on the institution's part. You're sending staff out of the office for some period of time to work on setup and tear down and there while the show is going on. But the value that you get out of that is significant. You know, Caroline, I know, for example, has made contacts throughout industry that have been very beneficial to us in our work with iLight. You know, we're working on a project right now that is a result of some connections that she had with Sienna and some of their technical experts. So again, there's a lot of residual benefits that you receive from this. Jeff Schwab, who's sitting behind me, was the chair of SciNet this year, so he could certainly speak to some of the value that he's gotten out of that opportunity. And then the WINS program in general, you know, getting women to participate, of course, is of interest to me and Caroline and others. You know, certainly listening to what Maureen had to say earlier this morning. You know, it's very important, I think, for all of us to encourage women to participate and be involved in technology. And so I think, you know, it's on us to do what we can to encourage and mentor our staff in that direction. So.
My only comment is that get the word out. If you guys are pulling this together and starting to be a resource, because I'm not so sure that the women in my IT group know anything about this going on. And I have people that are in HPC and, you know, they're doing high performance computing and stuff, and I just don't know that there's an awareness that this is going on.
Okay.
You know,
That's excellent feedback.
somehow.
Yeah, that's great feedback, and I think one of the things we can do is make sure that the ILAC membership is aware of when these opportunities exist, when there's a call for participation in SciNet, when there's a call for applicants for the WINS program, or whatever will follow the WINS program. As Kate mentioned, it was funded by the National Science Foundation, and ESnet put some funding into that as well. We don't know what at least I don't know, Kate, you may know what the next evolution of WINS will be once that funding runs out. But certainly we can notify the ILAC outreach list to these opportunities as they come about, and we will make a point to do that.
Actually, I think that we have sent information out. I think that's how Tanya participated, is through the outreach list. And
The other thing we do, I do a lot of, I know I wrote probably a dozen letters of support for people who are applying for WINS participation, is to write letters of support when our staff are interested in participating. I'm always willing to do that for any ILAC members, so if you have somebody who's interested, feel free to reach out to me. I will be happy to provide some letters of support. I know Dave Jones would also be happy to do so as well.
I think, you know, we try and get the word out as much as we can. We hit all the mailing lists that we know of. If you have other mailing lists, other ways to get the word out, let us know. Let Carolyn know. I, as former SciNet chair, I can certainly help get the people to the right lists. Kate, Carolyn, the whole WINS committee tries to get it out. We try. I'm sure we got it on the opportunities list, and I remember seeing it. But the other thing is, once you see it at your institution, it may go to some random person on the mailing list. The next step is very important, is to encourage your staff to apply for this. I've had several people at Purdue that I've had to just personally stand in their office and say, this is a great idea. And I think, the thing we can all do here is to make sure when we see the calls that it gets to the right people so that they apply and get this enormously incredible opportunity.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Marianne. I really appreciate that. We only have like 4 more minutes. Do we have any, do you guys have any last parting thoughts that you'd like to cover? I know we started a little bit late, but.
So I think
I wanted to add one quick thing. I couldn't hear all of the comments from the room, so I apologize. Excuse me for that. I could hear, I think that was Marianne and Jeff. But just one quick thing, as far as encouraging your staff to apply for the program, I couldn't agree more. But in addition, especially since the program is targeting early to mid-career, and like I said, that actually is, regardless of age, whether someone has switched careers or not. But we've noticed in a lot of the applications, if you're encouraging someone to apply, which you should, but also if you could maybe help them with their application, whether that be, if they are truly early career and they maybe have just graduated and you've brought them on. But we have a lot of guidance on the WINS website on basically on resume. The letter of support from their employer is extremely important as part of their application, as well as their resume. And so we encourage them to work with someone or show their resume to someone, a manager or a mentor or whoever that happens to be. So that's another way to maybe help them to strengthen their application, because it is pretty competitive. And it's also helpful for them just in professional development as well.
And I should say, oftentimes we've had people who have submitted applications who were not accepted in the first round, don't give up. And Kalina is a good example. I think this may have been her 3rd time of applying before she was actually selected. As Kate said, it's a very competitive opportunity, but so if at first you don't succeed, please try again.
Absolutely. Gladys?
Yes, I think that one comment that I wanted to add is, just for the woman in the room and also for the men. So look for mentors. I think that one of the things that has helped me a lot, just to don't be afraid to just pursue something that might be out of my comfort zone in my career or in my area of expertise is my mentors. They actually push me to apply for things that I wouldn't even imagine that I could apply for it. But it's because they believe in me. And so, and even if you don't have the resources, just go and ask for it. The worst thing that can happen is people saying no, and you already have that. And so I think that I am a firm believer of having mentors and also being a mentor.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really appreciate everyone today. If you have any questions, otherwise we're gonna take a break, I think.
Yes, we are.
So Kate, thank you though. Thanks a million for participating from California.
Sure. All right. Enjoy the rest of your meeting. Bye.
Thanks.